MusicalTalk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to Musical Talk. My name is Nick Hutson, and I'm joined here by, I'll let you introduce yourself, Jaron. Go ahead.
I am voice teacher, entrepreneur, speech trainer, oh my goodness, professor, singer by trade, and by love, Jaron M. LeGrair.
And I stumbled across your YouTube channel about 2 weeks ago, and I was just enthralled by what I was seeing, and just kind of seeing the way you... I am not a singer, I will say that immediately, and I say every time I sing, a cat dies somewhere. But the way you were describing what singers were doing, and specifically we're going to be talking about something I've always been passionate about, is the use of gospel in musical theatre. And I think it's especially fitting that yesterday, at the time of recording, it's the anniversary of Howard Ashman's passing, so it's kind of nice that we will be focusing a bit on Alan Menken in this episode, because he's one of the best, isn't he, really, Jaron?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh goodness, yes. And
tell us about your background first before we have some fun.
So I grew up singing in church. That's kind of where it all began, singing gospel, and have a family who sings. I have two older brothers who sing. Both my parents sing. They don't sing actively, but they're able to sing. They have the ability to sing. But they both don't really sing anymore. My brothers and I kind of have a gospel, kind of a music group called the LeGrair Brothers. Though we don't sing often together anymore, we're brothers, so we're always going to be a group no matter what. It's just a part of it. But
and do you find that, for example, with the Bee Gees, they were always in the do you think there's a kind of sibling harmony thing going on that's just natural? Is that something you discovered?
Yes, the harmony thing came for us, it came very natural. I don't ever remember not harmonizing with my brothers, and so I think the harmony thing just comes natural for a lot of siblings who all sing.
Jackson 5 as well, and things like that, and
it's become our nucleus of music. So we kind of just make music with each other because we were around each other all the time growing up. So yeah. But I went to performing arts, middle schools, high school. Studied voice in college. And that was after I kind of rebelled against the whole idea of studying voice. I was like, I don't want to, I was like, I sang enough. I don't want to do voice. But I ended up studying voice in college for undergrad. And then I went to voice pedagogy for grad school. And then I started my studio, which is kind of the root of my YouTube channel. I started that studio in 2013 in March. So I'm celebrating 11 years this month.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So, so I did in grad school. And then it kind of all flourished from there in terms of my teaching, kind of turned into a social media thing. I'm still teaching. I just don't teach as much as I used to. I travel a lot and I do a lot more, social media stuff and, that sort of thing. But, that's where it all kind of started. But me singing in church, honestly, for real.
And talk to me about your musical theatre interest. Where did that come from?
Came from, my first musical. Well, I'm going to talk about it like this. My first musical introduction was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Of course, yeah.
You're right. It was like late 90s, I think, like 98, 99. And they were touring. I think it was a national tour at the time. And our school got picked to be, my school I was at, performing arts school, got picked to be the children's choir in the show. For the region or for the city. So we were in and out of the theater for several weeks doing a show. We learned the music, on our own and everything. So that was my first introduction to musical theater was Joseph. And to this day, even though I don't know if it will ever happen, but to this day, I want to be the narrator so bad. That is, the Pharaoh story is my song. Okay. Yeah. I love that song. But that was my first intro, and I've been intrigued. I was intrigued before I became interested. I was very intrigued by it. That was my first intro to it. So I thought Joseph was the only show that existed because I was in fourth grade, I know no better. So I was like, oh, Joseph is me? Okay, And then you started hearing Phantom of the Opera. And then I'll tell you what sparked my interest. Fifth grade of the, next year, my school took a trip to New York. And I think this was when Lion King first got on Broadway. And I saw the show. And even in 5th grade to this day, I remember being so moved by that show. And I was like, oh my God, like this is something, you know. I wanted to be young Simba so bad. Okay. But I remember sitting there watching it. Like I said, I think it was just on Broadway, maybe like a year or two at that point. And I was like, wow. So that really where my interest kind of magnified to a high degree, you know. And there, you know, and I want to, you know, seeing people who look like me on stage was amazing too, you know. So that was an amazing part of it, you know. So, but that really sparked my interest in musical theater, and I kind of stayed in the musical theater world ever since, you know.
And do you get lots of students who want to do musicals, and do you help them out with that? Because what I found on your YouTube channel was, and it's kind of timely, was the Hercules reaction with the muses, and it's just yesterday released the set build for Hercules in Germany, which is very exciting, and I hear rumors it's coming to London next and things, so I can't wait for that. So it's a kind of, would you say that's the ultimate kind of example of what gospel can do in a musical?
For Jaron, yes. In Jaron's opinion, yes, because to me, the muses are, I love them so much. The music, the original muses from the movie. I mean, I am obsessed with the muses. If anybody who knows me, Hercules is probably my top Disney soundtrack for Jaron. I remember watching that movie when I was a little kid, and when I heard, I was like, wow. You know, I just remember being so enthralled by those vocals because it was my worlds colliding. It was a gospel and musical theater. I'm like, this is me. Like, this is like me in a movie, you know? And so I related to... Had you
seen Little Shop of Horrors at that point?
Not at that point. No. Not at that point. No. Because this was probably all the same time that I saw Lion King, just like everything that was doing like that just named. It was probably all in them same couple years. Because like late 90s, I was a little kid. And I remember watching that. But at the point, I didn't see Little Shop of Horrors yet. Not yet. But
obviously, the similarities are there with the kind of Greek chorus idea. But when we were chatting like last week, Jaron, I sent you a list of kind of songs I like in musicals, and I included on that list. I will start, and I actually said to you, please do a response video to this song because it's so important and it's so beautiful. Old Man River, sung by very, 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 very bass profundo Paul Robeson in the film Showboat. Are you familiar with? You must be familiar with that one, Jaron.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I haven't done a video on it yet, but I'm definitely.
What is going on in that song? Because that's an incredible performance, isn't it? Just that kind of incredible spiritual, low, mourning sound.
Yeah, I was going to say it's moving in a different way because I feel like sometimes when we say gospel, people just think, oh, fast, and we going to run around with tambourine. Yeah, you know, and start dancing around. But that is gospel, too. It's another form, you know, or genre, if you will, subgenre of gospel. I mean, gospel, you see the musical theater, you know, in many ways, but gospel has so many subgenres that a lot of people don't consider. You know, I think a lot of music has subgenres. You know,
it's interesting you mentioned the subgenres, and just to go back to Hercules because that is a level we'll be basing everything on. You in one of the gospel truth appraises, you mentioned it's like a funeral, this kind of wailing that happens, and that's, I don't think Old Man River is that, but it's that more slow, somber feel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a somber feel because gospel musically is very emotional. So we sing out of emotion. So when you are sad or you're having that experience, that emotional experience, your voice sounds like that, you know, depending on what the song is. So that song with him singing it's that pull, it's that slow, all of that.
And then to go back to Alan Menken, we'll talk about Sister Act on stage. Now, I don't know if you've seen that, but obviously the film, the Whoopi Goldberg film, Sister Act 1 and 2, kind of has gospel, but they're more Motown arrangements, aren't they, that Mark Shaman did. But we have the Sister Act musical has a song, Raise Your Voice, which speaks for itself. It's absolutely brilliant. I remember seeing that in London when it first opened, and it's like, this is the most fun. And just Alan Menken is so good at that kind of stuff. And, you know, I I don't know if he listened to gospel a lot as a child. He probably didn't, but it's kind of I still think it's the most fun music style there is, hands down. Even in its rawest, saddest form. For example, I Know Where I've Been in Hairspray. It's still amazing to listen to. And do you think? Forgive me. Do you think it's something that white British people cannot do? Or is it purely something that's in your DNA and your blood? Like me.
That is a good question. No, that is a good question. I'm going to say I'm not both fan, but I think those two thoughts can coexist in the most respectful way. I do think by trade, you can, anybody can learn the music and sing it.
Yeah.
But I do believe because it came from, culture way more than anything else, that it's almost like me trying to sing, Native American. I can physically do it, but will I have the same connection to it?
Raw response, yeah.
Yeah, like it's just, and even when I analyze people, from different cultures, different types of voicings, I do my best to be extremely respectful of the genre and the culture itself, because I never want to disrespect, and I'm always, touch and go, because I'm like, I just want to make sure I respect the people. That's top priority for me. So, I think anybody can learn it, and enjoy it, but I do think there's something that is innate, in certain cultures that can execute certain things a certain way, because it's just kind of within us. We write, it's written for and within us. We exude it that way. So I think both can exist. But I say have fun still if you want to,
There's a wonderful talk about Mark Shaman, who did the Sister Act films. He and his writing partner Scott Whitman did a one-man musical for Martin Short called Fame Becomes Me. And it has one of the funniest songs in it ever, called When a Big Black Lady Stops the Show. And it has one of my favourite lines in it ever, where he says, "Why is it, whether gospel or blues, these songs are always written by some old fart white gay Jews?" Which I think kind of sums it up a lot. I really urge you to check that out. I mean, let's talk about Dreamgirls. Were you... when did you become aware of that masterpiece? Which is, in my theory, is an opera.
Yeah. I mean, Joseph is like an opera to me, too.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of,
through composed. But Dreamgirls has arias, and it has great big recitative moments, and it has these huge kind of sweeping, obviously, I'm telling you I'm not going, but all the big moments, it really was, I think, based on the structure of an opera.
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. I knew, and I am telling you before I knew Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
So, and I'm telling you, always Jennifer Holliday was singing that since I just always remember her singing that, growing up. But I knew the movie Dreamgirls. That was my first intro to Dreamgirls, and I knew the title Dreamgirls. I just never knew any of the songs until the movie came out. And we all became super obsessed with it, and then. I actually music directed that show several times here in the state. And that's when I became aware of the actual music. That's, it's way more than the movie. The movie's kind of, it doesn't have all the music.
Greatest hits, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that musical ain't no joke. It's like it's like 3 books of conductor score. It's a big show. But yeah, so that's when I think high school is when I became really aware of Dreamgirls, like the musical, once I did research. But I always been, I'm telling you, just growing up hearing it all the time, It's
so iconic. It's almost, I mean, it's parodied in When a Big Black Lady Stops the Show. It's almost like a joke, that song now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, I mean, that song takes some power and stamina to sing. Oh my gosh. It's just so kudos to anybody who can really sing it, because it takes so much, vocally and physically.
And just watching your videos, it's so amazing how you hear, I mean, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but when you hear like a line, you copy it perfectly, and your vocal range is astonishing. I would kill for you to sing one of my songs, Jaron, and it's just, I'd never heard anything like it before.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. people tell me your range is so high, this, that, and the third. And I don't say this because I think it, I've lived with it. So my brain, I just think, it's normal. Just my voice. Yeah. I've lived with this my entire life. But when people who aren't used to hearing me, they're like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it is kind of high, but I don't think twice. I was like, I just do whatever, but it's because I live with it. So, even my family, they're not fazed by it, because they heard it their whole lives. But I'm like, yeah, but I do appreciate the kind words. I really do. I really, really do. Thank you.
What are some of your favorite gospel moments in the world of musical theatre that we haven't covered?
Oh Lord, I think we covered it because I was thinking about the muses. That was in my brain. It was the muses. Yeah. I said I'm gonna talk about the muses. I think what else? Gospel wise, man. Because you covered all the ones that I really was into. I was going to talk about. But I will say. Well, I don't just want to call it. I would say gospel elements because it's more so Caribbean, Jamaican, if you will. But Mama Will Provide. Yeah. But I think the way Asaka sings it gives me gospel roots in vocal execution. Yeah. So I like that song. And I didn't know Once in a Sound until college. So a lot of musical theater stuff that I was learning, it just over time, and I said, oh, this show exists. Oh, that show exists. But I sang My Will Provide before, as a, kind of a fun thing. I don't think I'll ever share it, but it was a fun thing. But I love the ending, so I feel like because I feel comfortable in that kind of stuff. I like that song too, with the vocals of the gospel there.
And other ones in my list include it's a bit what we would call naff, but kind of corny. But it's a gospel song, and Starlight Express is coming back to London this summer, which I'm looking forward to seeing. And there's a song in it called Light at the End of the Tunnel, which kind of sums up the thing. And to carry on with Andrew Lloyd Webber, Whistle Down the Wind has the keys to the gates of heaven. I can't remember what it's called, but it's that kind of song. Not really gospel, more hymn-like, but I think it's more in the vocal performance, I think, and the instruments that you do. As an example, the 2001 version of Godspell has a song in it called We Beseech Thee, which wasn't written as a gospel song, but they took it. It's amazing what you can do when you add a tambourine into a fast song, and the mind just instantly goes to that hot, sweaty church on a Sunday morning, doesn't it? With all the women fanning themselves and fainting and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of fun gospel I like. Also present in mysterious ways in The Color Purple.
As you're saying, I'm like color purple. Because you know what other song I like is Jesus Christ Superstar. Oh my Lord, Judas sings it. Oh my Lord, the name was leaving me. But Judas sings a song. I know that Jesus Christ Superstar. But to me, it kind of has a rock element to it. But to me, it could definitely be like even I would say even like an 80s, 90s gospel type of vibe, if you will. So when you were talking about Jesus Christ Superstar, is a great one as well. Yeah, and even Ragtime with the big number at the end of the first half, I believe. Another name is leaving me. But
Till We Reach That Day, that's on my list. That is,
yes. Yeah. Yes, that number too. Like even that kind of stuff. Again, it's not the tambourine running around shouting stuff, but it's still very gospel. Still very big. And I remember coaching that song or that number with a with a production. They were doing that show, and I was like, they were they were singing the notes right, but I'm like, y'all got to let go of the tall vowels and everything. I say, you got to sing from the heart. That's the root of gospel is emotion, in terms of vocal execution. And once I said, okay, let go of the vowels and just sing, just open up and sing and let it ring, the room shifted in terms of just the energy. It's like, okay, now we're going somewhere. And I said, that's where y'all need to go when you sing this song, because that's what the song is. That's what the song needs. You need that power, because you got the lady ad-libbing up top, everybody, and so you got the choir building up, in the back. And I'm like, you need that element. You don't need to sing it so structured. I said, just let it ring and sit back and just sing in the sound and be in there. So that's another one that I really like too.
Raise your voice in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And also in that song, it's very subtle, and I was good friends with the orchestrator, William David Brown, and he created the sound, and he told me this, of an organ using the woodwinds. Just that kind of very kind of plaintive reed sound, and that you know, it's really clever. I love that song so much. I'm trying to think what else is on my list. I've got, you might not agree with this, but "Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat" from Guys and Dolls.
I never thought about that. Huh.
And I'm gonna go really random here. I might have to look it up because I've only discovered it. Well, Family Guy very famously did a song called "Mr. Booze," where Brian is in this kind of set up to try and get people off alcohol, but that is copied word for word from a musical called Robin and the Seven Hoods. So that's made its way into kind of... There's so many wonderful examples, but it's such a thrilling example of what storytelling and raw emotion can do on stage, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I tell clients all the time, and I have a vocal mentor, Lindia Johnson. I love her dearly. She's from California, a vocal mentor, a friend of mine. And we talked about this before, and I talk to my clients often. I say, you just got to sing. You know, and you got to just, we got the technique. We're doing all the things. I say you got to trust it and just go for it. And especially in a song that requires it, you know, trust yourself and just sing. And I think that's some of the amazingness, dare I say, the magic of gospel singing it's that raw, I'm just going to just sing. I'm just going to just do it and not think too much about, the talk or whatever you want to talk about vocally, and I'm just going to just do it and let it ring and let it be what it's going to be, because everybody's execution of gospel is different because we feel emotions differently, so I like the liberty that people take in gospel, and I think that helps a lot with improv. It helps a lot with harmonizing with other people. It helps a lot with different vocal musical elements that people don't consider. You just learn by rote or just learn by being in an environment of gospel. I always tell people all the time, I was like, when I was music theory, like classes, basically most of it was putting a name to what I've always knew how to do, or a different name to what I've always known how to do, and so it was just kind of labeling things. But I mean, even gospel can help you do that, because it's just so many elements within the execution of it. Makes it so cool, I
mean, I went to a Catholic school, so I grew up with all the traditional hymns, which I always blame for my kind of ability to compose nice melodies and things, very traditional melodies. But I secretly enjoyed all the Hercules and the little shops and all that kind of, because it's quite camp as well, isn't it? It's quite sort of over the top, and it's joyous, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's joyous, over the top, and that's what people love about it. It's a show. Gospel is, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I'm a faith-based man, all that stuff. But it's a show. It's definitely, there's an entertainment factor to gospel music. Definitely. And
I think if we're going to break away from musical theatre, I think the most perfect example of a gospel album, and I don't know if you agree with me, it has to be the Aretha Franklin album with her choir and just her on piano. It's just, that could be written and arranged by musical theatre people, because it's so perfect as an example of how it's done.
I love that album. There's a song on there, climbing a mountain. I forget what it's called. Things leaving me now. But
if it's Climb Every Mountain, that's a musical theatre song.
No, it's not Climb Every Mountain. No. But it's I forget it now, but it's something about climbing a mountain. And I did a video on that when shortly after she I think it's the anniversary for passing. But that is a beautiful album. And I personally, I'm going to tell you this, I personally really like the raw unadulterated recordings of gospel. That's just something I've always liked. I like hearing the quote unquote mistakes. I like hearing the people talking back. I like that. That is to me a part of the genre. The wonderfulness of gospel is the interaction, and the raw moment emotion. Like when I do recordings, I would like put a mic in the audience, because I want that captured. I don't care they're talking back to me. I want that. Like I don't want it to be dead silent in the room. I want people to clap and whatever. That's the experience, of gospel and experience of church. And I love that. So I think that album is a great example of that, because you watch the videos, you see Mick Jagger in the back, everybody just, they're having a good time, and I love that. I love that, that they just talking back, they, whatever. I love that element of the album.
A musical we've had on stage recently-ish in this country, we should talk about it because I did enjoy your video on it, is The Prince of Egypt. A very different kind of musical film. It wasn't Disney. It was it Don Bluth who did it? And it was kind of Jeffrey Katzenberg and it was all kind of DreamWorks. Yeah, it was DreamWorks. And not for kids, I think. I think it was just a beautiful animation film, but the songs are wonderful. And if you can find the London cast recording, you'll have much more to listen to than just the film.
Okay. Yeah, that music is beautiful. And it's very, like you said, different than what, people may have expected when it came out or whatever, but the words and the lyrics are so moving. I mean, I cried in one video, and it came so quick when I was doing the video. Because I was thinking about the words. Even now I can feel emotion starting to creep up when I think about the words. Even now, like it starts to hit. But yeah, I mean, and that's another part about it. But again, it still has gospel elements, though it's way more. I guess I don't want to say somber. I guess like a better term.
I think it's kind of gospel meets Eastern, isn't it? Because of all the Egyptian influence that it had.
Oh yeah.
Which in itself is incredibly beautiful, and it was a weird stage show. I think it was directed by Stephen Schwartz's son, appropriately enough, but it was kind of bizarre. I liked it for the music, let's just say, but the production I think felt a lot to be desired. But that's kind of my list, and I think listeners, if you think there's anything that we've left out, do let us know, because it's such a fun topic to research. I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
As we were talking about it, one thing about Little Shop of Horrors, well, at least when I see when I see the movie or whatever, I think I was like, oh my God, those are very similar to the Muses in more ways than one. Yeah. And I didn't think about it until we talked about it. I was like, whoa, like I didn't think about, how they move and how they sing. I was like, there's definitely some correlation between, or it seems like there's some correlation between Little Shop of Horrors, that part, and the Muses. I mean, even even Dreamgirls and the Muses.
Yeah.
And how they sing and move, all that stuff, and how they carry the plot along. But anyway, as you were saying, I was like, look at some similarities. I never thought about that.
And also the opening to Downtown in Little Shop of Horrors is very, very gospel. Alarm, girls of it, all that. And I think the woman that does it in the film was a gospel singer that you see in the film. She was a gospel singer, but they replaced her vocals with someone else, which is a real shame. And I wish I could have heard what the original vocals were. Yeah. But it's been a wonderful discussion, Jaron. Where can people find your YouTube channel to hear some of your incredibly wonderful analyses of vocal performance?
Thank you. If you look up my name, Jaron M. LeGrair, it'll come up. But if you want to look it up specifically, the handle is JM LEGRAIR, then the word studio. So JM LeGrair Studio on YouTube. You find me on social media. Every social media platform that I have for my studio will be JM LeGrair Studio. So no matter what you type in, it'll pop up on all the things that the studio is on. Instagram, TikTok, all the things. So you can find me there to see, because I do vertical analyses, like the reactions on TikTok as well. So I do those on Instagram. But I do the full form, long form analysis on YouTube. And
I guess we'll end with I guess one of your more recent videos. Are you looking forward to the Wicked film?
Yes, so much so. Oh my gosh, yes, hard yes. I'm so excited to see how they execute this as artists. I'm just thrilled.
How obviously Cynthia Erivo from Our Fair Shores is incredibly talented. I saw her in her debut years ago in London, and she was stunning. How well do you think Ariana Grande will do?
Somebody else was talking about her recently, about her voice and how she's, because artists evolve and grow just as we live on Earth, right? So I think she will do what Ariana does best, and the girl can sing. That's one thing for certain. The girl can sing, so I think.
But can she do the Colliatura that Kristen Chenoweth can, all that incredibly high?
I mean, she does a lot. She does a lot of the, whistle tone stuff, so she may evolve it. I'm not sure into something that she would do. And that's what I was saying, like seeing how they would interpret the art itself versus being like Kristen, being like, whoever. Like, how would Cynthia do it? How would Ariana do it?
Yeah,
I see the beauty in that. I like saying like, oh, okay, they took a little differently, or they did that, So I'm excited to see. I think it'd be good.
I look forward to it. I don't think there's been 2 parts, but obviously they do, so they know what we're doing. Jaron, thank you so much for joining us on Musical Talk. It's been an absolute joy to talk to you. And until next time, and I hope there is a next time because you're incredibly good value. Good luck with the rest of the singing in the studio and the teaching and the analysis and directing and all that kind of stuff. It's been lovely.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Musical Talk. To find out more about the world of Musical Talk, you can visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk, where you'll find all our episodes, or you can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Musical Talk.